It takes a lot of courage because as you're going through it, people around you might wonder, why are you changing? What's happening to you? Because this process will force a healing to begin to take place that you may have never even imagined. You might start feeling different about things, people, places, your job, just so many different things because you're realizing this is not really me. This is not what I want to do. It was something ingrained in us from the beginning, and we just have to get back there. So my next point, learning how to integrate this and finding your creative expression is part of the psychology. The inner child work, it encourages us to integrate those childlike aspects right into our adult self. So this can lead to a more fulfilling life, obviously, and us being truly ourselves, being authentic.
NATV YouTube podcast right here on NATV Network.
It takes a lot of courage because as you're going through it, people around you might wonder. This is Nicole Black, and we are doing inner child work. This is a series that is customized with sessions about our inner child, our creative self, our artistic child self that is inside all of us, that wants to be part of our life, and that surely can be. So thank you so much for joining me here along with NATV Network. Make sure you come to my channel at Crystal-Tees, and I will give you the rest of the content from today. I'm going to talk about most of it, and then next Monday on November 18th at 8 p.m. my time, East Coast, I will give you the rest, and we can chat and do some Q&A, and I would love to get to know you better. But first, thank you again so much for being here and for spending your time with me. We're talking about signs of an unhealed inner child. This is our second episode with the inner child work. Again, my name's Nicole Black. Thank you for listening. We're talking about identifying signs and symptoms that suggest an unhealed inner child and how these manifest in adult behavior in our lives and emotional responses and pretty much how our lives end up. So the key points I'm going to go over today, number one, it's going to be triggers, mostly mental and emotional, but also some in the body. And number two, patterns of behavior, which, for example, could be fear of abandonment, that sort of thing. It comes as a result of those triggers and traumas. And then I am going to save number three. It's called the impact on relationships and self-esteem, and it's so important. And it is truly our present, our future, all of it. It deserves more time. So come see me on my channel at Crystal-Tees on YouTube next Monday, the 18th at 8 p.m. And I am going to do all of it on the third point there, relationships and self-esteem, because it's very important. Just like all of you. Again, thank you for being here with me. Yes, number one, if you have a pen and pencil, get it out. That's how I like to take notes. I'm a little old school, but a lot of folks, you can feel free. Use audio on your cell phone, or if you're at your computer, your laptop, taking a break, typing, whatever works for you. But if anything's meaningful and you want to save it, please feel free to do so. But number one are triggers. This is signs of an unhealed child. And as we're out in our life, in our own world, in our minds, we're out externally with others. What do we see all the time? People getting triggered, right? That's such a trending word, triggered. And it's true. From a toddler, from a very young age, to babies, to toddlers, to fully grown adults, to middle-aged, to elderly, I've seen everybody get triggered. I'm sure you all have as well. This is mental, emotional, can be simply in the body. And I'll talk about that here in a few moments, which can be a little confusing. But the definition for triggers, it's a sensory reminder, and it causes painful memories or certain symptoms to resurface. So if you experienced a traumatic event or multiple traumas, then you're likely going to remember certain sounds, right? Smells, sights, certain feelings, very heavy with the sensory sensations relating to that experience. You might experience anxiety, fear, panic, just unease, all sorts of layers of feelings you may not even know you had. And here's an example. Maybe someone lives with a caregiver, one of their parents, extended family member, whoever it is, and they have substance abuse disorder or substance disorder, where maybe the smell of alcohol or other certain signs, symptoms of that scene, it can trigger that symptom of, oh my gosh, this is about to happen again. Okay. So more on triggers. Let's chat. Here's a few points. If you like bullet points or you like numerals, here's a couple for you. In psychology terms, and just so you know, this is from a few different sources, like Psychology Today, I've always read over the years. I'll give you more on the 18th when I pull them together and let you know some really great psychology and other types of sources follow. But in those terms, it's a stimulus. It causes a painful memory to resurface. It can be any sensory reminder of the traumatic event. Like I said, a sight, a sound, a smell, a physical sensation, or even, get this, a time of day or a season. It could almost be like a gust of wind that felt off. Do you know what I mean? It's very wild how nuanced and even how gentle these trigger come on to us. So the second one here is for the PTSD folks, post-traumatic stress disorder. In case you didn't know what PTSD stands for, you have heard those who fought in war, right? The veterans, they might experience a trigger if they hear fireworks going off, or certain types of dogs someone might have a PTSD triggered reaction because they got bit when they were very young. And that's their nervous system going haywire, essentially, or just signaling to them, depending on the level of trauma or how their brain and body interpreted that range of trauma. Okay. But a trigger can also be anything that worsens symptoms of mental health conditions, such as OCD. And OCD stands for obsessive compulsive disorder. Also for substance abuse disorder. So another example, an OCD person could be triggered by a dirty house, for example, or even a dirty doorknob. It could be something really small. Somebody coming in with disheveled clothing or appearance, and they may react, whether internally or externally, with anxiety or fear because they're associating that with a traumatic event in their life, whether they remember it or not. And I'll talk about that in just a second. But these triggers and these traumas, everything's linked together, right? It's like when you played Red Rover, and everyone's linking arms and hands. Everything is linked so tightly together. So that's why this happens. But it plays a significant role in forming memories. Our senses do from these traumas, whether we remember them or not, and our triggers, our senses. And I'm saying it again because I really had to think about that a few times. Forming memories, even if your brain cannot remember what happened exactly or even who was involved, your senses remember, your body remembers, your brain remembers, and it's trying to protect you, which is why sometimes our memories can become blocked, especially if it's an early childhood trauma when we're very young. Okay. So one theory proposed that these trauma-related triggers can feel so intense because our senses are highly involved. Makes sense, right? And when we experience trauma, our brain, it tends to store the surrounding sensory stimuli to memory, because our brains are like computers, right? Really cool computers, very thoughtful, trying to protect us, lots of files. Can't remember everything at once and don't want to, because it would be painful. It would be harmful. If we could remember and know everything all at once, it's pretty much overwhelming. When you break it down, it makes sense. But when you're in the thick of it, I know it can be maddening. It could be so frustrating and angering, and just feeling like you're at odds, trying to make sense of all of this. So it really helps to go through and learn more about it. So I'm so glad you guys are here with me again. Thank you. So when we encounter these sensory triggers years later, our brains may reactivate the feelings associated with the trauma. And in some cases, we may not even be conscious of why we're afraid or upset. And that's what I'm talking about. I know you guys out there know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't gotten to that point yet of your healing journey where you want to go there and you're trying to get the courage and you're like, you know what? This is something I've been putting off for years and things just keep getting more challenging, right? Maybe you get more and more stress with work. Maybe the kids and the family, everything's just compounding more and more. And you're like, I know I need to do that inner child work. I know I need to reflect on why I'm having this reaction, brain, body, mental, emotional, whatever it is, all of it. There might be something there that I need to work on and start peeling back the layers. And I'm going to encourage you to just start anywhere, any day, anytime. It's better to start too late, as we say it, than to never start at all. And that's why we're here. So here's an example. For instance, if you got into a bad car accident when you're listening to a certain song or while chewing grape bubble gum, okay, these sensory experiences, they can become triggers for years to come. Just something so simple in the moment, so innocent, you would not put a second thought to it. But once it gets attached to a trauma, to a bad experience, to something painful, to something harmful, what have you, it becomes an automatic association. Even if your brain blocks it later, your body remembers. And I will refer you guys to that book. I have mentioned it a few times, I know, over on my channel at Crystal-Cheese. It is The Body Knows the Score. I'll talk more about that on the 18th when you come visit me for the third point from this session. But whether it's a one-time event or a series of traumatic events, trauma affects each person differently. And in fact, the same event, it could cause two people to completely respond differently, right? As we all know, because we're not all the same. We are individuals. There's nuance. No one is the same, right? We're all originals. Whatever we were conditioned for, trying to be brainwashed, it doesn't matter. We're actually originals at the core. So everyone's going to have a different response. And some people out there, I know, they try to put people in buckets like, well, my PTSD is worse, or my trauma was worse because I fought in war, or this person, well, I was abused as a young child and this is what happened, so it's worse than yours. And that's really not what we need to be saying to ourselves or to anyone else, right? This is worse than that. But it's the comparison. It's such a thief of joy. And I will say it right now and encourage everybody out there. Let's turn it into a positive and just keep it real and make sure we're not comparing traumas. We're not doing that even on our own self and trying to put ourselves down and say, well, theirs is worse. I know I've done that a little bit, trying to be thankful, saying I'm thankful, which is great. It's great to be thankful every day. I hope we all continue to be thankful and grateful for what we have and what we've been saved from. But at the same time, we need to love ourselves and be kind enough to say, no, what I've experienced is not okay. And what I'm feeling in my body and my brain, it's not okay. And I want a better life and I want to start now. And that's just it. So again, I'm so glad you guys are here with me. But because we're all different, one person might reach a point of acceptance about an unsettling experience where the other person might develop extreme PTSD. And they might go down that road, maybe for the rest of their life, maybe for many years, until they realize, I can't live like this anymore. This extreme PTSD is debilitating. And it sends your nervous system into just a mess, a wreck. And a lot of folks can't work anymore when they get to that point, until you really get to the point of saying, okay, my body has to learn to breathe and to start healing. Because again, the body knows the score. No matter what you think, no matter what you can remember, just keep that in mind, because sometimes it doesn't make any sense and you can become more confused trying to figure things out in your mind. So the difference in response, it could be just a wide range of factors, but impacts on an individual, it just depends on factors such as including this person's personality traits, their sociocultural history, just think about it, characteristics of the event, so many different nuances of different events, people involved, places, things, maybe the stage of the individual's emotional development. That's a big one, right? Where your awareness is at the time, the meaning of the trauma to the individual. It is not the same for everyone. That is completely different every single time. So this is not an easy math formula that can be 1 + 1 = 2. And that's why it does take inner work and awareness and a true awakening to go through this and to love yourself enough. So I applaud you, and I'm very grateful that I'm here along this journey with you. This is not an exhaustive list, of course, but here's a few common triggers. Getting rejected for anything, right? For a job, a relationship, whether you're married or not, just neighbors, friends, you're trying to meet new people. It could be so many things. Getting rejected, being alone. Some people can't be alone. They just have to be with someone else. Being ridiculed, judged, arguments, loud noises, banging, other types of loud voices, yelling, maybe cursing, maybe calling certain names out. Certain names might be associated with certain types of events and traumas, a holiday or anniversary of the trauma or the loss. And again, we go back to this: smells, sights, tastes, the time of day, all of that, being ignored, violence in the news. And the news is pretty negative, right? So there's a lot of that. Sexual harassment. I said that like a British person. Harassment. I love it. Or unwanted touching. Physical illness or injury. And then there's tons more from the psychcentral.com. I'll mention more about my sources later when you come visit me on the 18th. But the nervous system, it's activated by emotional or mental triggers, so it can lead to a range of physical symptoms in the body perceived to stress or threat. And these symptoms are part of the body's natural fight, flight, or freeze response. As most of us know, it is designed to protect us from danger, but it can become overactive or dysregulated when we're faced with these emotional triggers. And the intensity, the nature of these physical symptoms, it can vary depending on the individual, the type of trigger. But here's some quick examples to keep in mind. Just an increased heart rate, palpitations, chest tightness, pounding sensation in the chest, shallow or rapid breathing, just difficulty catching your breath, really rapid, shallow breaths, a sense of like tightness in the chest and the throat. The body's preparing for action, fight or flight. So it's increasing oxygen intake, and that can lead to those shallow breaths. It's, again, our bodies and our brains are just trying to help us and protect us. And some of us have been through a lot. And in some cases, it can even lead to hyperventilation. We've got sweating on the list. And you can sweat almost anywhere, believe it or not, in very strange places, like on your forehead. Obviously, a lot of people know underarms, maybe, behind your knees. It's kind of funny, but some people sweat through their feet, their toes. Their hands are pretty normal, but it can happen in places you don't even think of. And you're like, why is this happening? But the body activates those sweat glands as part of the fight or flight response to cool the body down in anticipation of the physical exertion. Muscle tension. That one is very well known with everybody working hard, right? Whether you're in an office or not, you got stiffness, tightness in the neck. It could be sharp, dull pain. Your jaws, your back, your hips, your legs, your abdomen. It's just a feeling of stiff overall. And it doesn't seem to get better, even if you go get massages, you're doing therapy, maybe you're trying to work out with a trainer. It's just really tough because it never seems to fully go away, right? And that's the body preparing for physical action by tensing your muscles because it's trying to protect you. And it can happen, especially with chronic stress and emotional reactivity. So I'm going to keep going through these pretty quickly because, as you can see, we could just get in the nitty-gritty of all of these. But again, I'm going to talk more on the 18th at 8 o'clock. So make sure you come join me. But we've got headaches, digestive issues, tingling, numbness, shaking, tremors. And a lot of people think of shaking and tremors that go with the PTSD, right? Related to the nervous system and all of those other illnesses that can be attached to that. So we'll cover that later. Dizziness, lightheadedness, dry mouth or throat. Okay. We've got increased blood pressure, skin reactions. I know about that one. Fatigue, weakness, hot flashes or chills. So you can see it's from one extreme to the next. Different sleep patterns. Overactive bladder. Clenching, grinding your teeth, just clenching anything. It kind of goes with the muscle tightness, but it's its own separate point here. And we'll talk about that later as well. And we'll also talk about later some exercises and techniques that are really going to help to start to relax you and get you in a place where you're getting back in your body and you're not trapped in your head. And you're going to start to get the oxygen flowing through the body and start moving it and understanding why that's important. Okay. So I know I mentioned this earlier. People who have experienced various traumas at such a young age in life, you may not be able to remember exactly what happened or who was involved because our brain does go that extra mile to protect us and ensure survival, thank God, which is awesome. But however, many of us, we start to purposely heal and do the inner work. It can be very maddening, like how I mentioned, just depending on how stubborn you are to figure things out, right? What was this trauma? Who exactly was there? What happened? And it's frustrating, but I want to remind you guys again, it's most important to focus on the mental, emotional, somatic healing in the body and start there because it's really ineffective to attempt the healing process the other way around, from the brain and the mind awareness to the body, because most people don't experience true body healing in this order. It's the opposite of what society, our family units, mainstream education and media has taught us. And triggers are also linked to the nervous system. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of people seem to be aware of that. I was, but people don't really understand what that means sometimes until they experience it or they see someone firsthand experiencing it in a more extreme way, because everything else can go below the radar and kind of be hidden too well, right? So as nervous systems become overloaded from years of triggers, pressure, stress, anxiety, it can certainly clap back, as we say now, and it can come and surprise us out of nowhere. It could be just somebody yelling and snapping, raising their voice when they've been like the nicest person and no one's ever heard them react that way, right? Or maybe you've been strong and steady and you're the best person working out and you're so strong and all of a sudden you start shaking and you're falling apart and you can't work out. Just things like that can start to happen when you've been overloaded and your nervous system's telling you, okay, buddy, that's enough. That's enough. And the intensity, the nature of these physical symptoms, again, it can just depend on the individual. And we'll talk more about that. So number 2, I'm going to go through this a little quickly too and save the rest of number 2 for the 18th as well, because triggers, we had a lot to talk about, and it is a lot. So you're just going to have to come back and visit with me on the 18th at 8 o'clock. So patterns of behavior, I will tell you real quick. These are patterns stemming from feelings of not being enough, counting yourself out before you even started, right? This could be a job, a position, maybe a company you really want to work with. And you know you're qualified deep inside. You know you're good enough. You have experience. You've worked so hard, but however, you continue to put yourself down ever so slightly, or whittle yourself down to nothing before the end of the week's out, before the end of the day, just convincing yourself, you know what, I'm not going to be able to make that much money right now. I'm not going to be able to swing that job description. I can't do all of those things perfect right now. Maybe I'm not educated enough. Maybe I'm not the perfect fit. Just didn't even apply for the job, right? That's another pattern. Self-sabotage. We could go through that as well. But addictions, this is going to be a big part of what we continue to talk about as well. Patterns of behavior, addictions of all types. We won't even go there. But obviously, addictions, it seems to be almost an automatic result of an unhealed inner child. For many of us, it just handed down generational trauma. And it seems like sometimes when you heal one, you get another one, or you start working on one, you're like, I'm doing so great. And then it starts to manifest in another area, whether it's shopping, gambling, it could be sexual, it could be substances, it could be just so many things. It could be workaholism, right? Doing too much work, doing someone else's work. Just so many different ways it can manifest. It's pretty wild. But we're going to keep talking about that as well. Just feeling judged, invalidated, or neglected. These are some things that happen when you're growing up, and they just continue to follow into adulthood. So these are those patterns of behavior, and everything is completely linked together. Everything's connected. So that's why this is so important. And it really is a personal, a spiritual war. It's the fight within us to reclaim ourselves. This is our real, true, authentic self we're going after. And many of us forget, or we don't recall who that is, what that feels like to be the real us. That is, until you get a sweet taste of the inner child work and this healing process. And then you can't stop. Even if you get the thought, you cannot stop, because you've already started that chain of events. And once you get that going, there's no getting off that train. So I'm going to leave number 3 and the rest of number 2 for us to chat. We got patterns of behavior and impact on relationships and self-esteem. I can't wait. This has all been so important and continues to be important to me. So thank you guys so much. I'm going to read you a few quotes. So if you want to save any of these, please feel free. A couple of them will have a name attached, and a couple of them are just standalone quotes that I read. But one, to live a creative life, we must lose our fear of being wrong. And it really just also means to live our best life, to live a full life, to live a healed life. We have to lose our fear of being wrong. Somewhere along the way, we were told we were wrong. We were different. We were, whatever it is, a mistake maybe. And you have to just stop caring about being wrong. It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare, but it is because we do not dare that they are difficult. Very true. Part of what we're doing here is we are reparenting ourselves, rebuilding trust, addressing the pain of our inner child, acknowledging and speaking up for our inner child when perhaps we weren't spoken for and defended in the past. So with awareness, this intentional work, it's more than possible to repair the damage and develop a healthier self-esteem, life, more fulfilling relationships, and a richer connection to our own creative, authentic inner child and self. I'm going to read a few more quotes and we're going to wrap it up here soon. Thank you guys so much again. The child is the father of the man. This is a cool one. William Wordsworth. So this one suggests that the experiences and qualities of our childhood deeply shape who we become, including our creativity and our capacity for joy. I thought that one was so interesting. The child is the father of the man. The most potent muse of all is our own inner child. So that speaks to the importance of reconnecting with that childlike part of ourself for uninhibited creativity. It sounds fun, right? To be creative, we must lose our fear of being wrong. That was pretty much the same one, but they put someone's name on it. It says Joseph Chilton Pierce. So I'll have to read more about him. But the imagination is the playground of the inner child, in case you didn't know, and it's limitless in its potential for innovation and creativity in our lives. No matter how old we are, no matter what's happened or what is to be, we're all in the same boat here together as human beings. And this one says, the creative adult is the child who survived. Ursula K. Le Guin. This reflects the idea of basically our capacity for creativity is rooted in the child we were. Nurturing that inner child helps us to continue creating and growing. And I'll just keep saying thriving. The creative adult is the child who survived and survived well. Who survived and thrived. And here we are, being creative adults, being our authentic selves. So I just want to thank you guys again for helping me, just listening. It means a lot. Going over these signs and symptoms of an unhealed inner child, what that might look like, some of the background there. Everybody's different. So necessarily translate out for the same for everybody, of course, but it is a guide. And as you all know, I'm not a doctor per se. I don't have a degree in psychology. I have another type of degree, but however, the school of life and my own experiences, they've led me to this place of sharing my expertise with you. And as you can tell, I'm very passionate about helping guide others to live a more whole, healed, joy-filled, creative life. So that's all I have for today. I'll just leave you with one more little nugget here. I just thank you so much for joining me. Remember, the healing process, it takes time. And it often involves revisiting past wounds with compassion. Reconnecting with the inner creative child can be deeply transformative, leading to greater emotional freedom and creative expression. So why not start now? Thank you. Thank you so much. Again, this is Nicole Black with the Inner Child Work. Thank you for being here. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.